Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. I greet you on this, the 13th day of the month of Safar of the year 1444. Don't ask me what date in September it is because I can't remember. I greet you from my sitting room in my home in my native island, Caribbean island of Trinidad, with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And the title of this video is Pakistan's Moment of Need. There is a tremendous suffering in Pakistan at this time, and we do not know whether those who are mainly responsible for the suffering, and they know who they are, and they are the richest people in the world, and they live the most comfortable lives, and they're the most miserly of all when it comes to helping us. They much prefer to spread the red carpet for refugees from Ukraine because they are a racist people, and they have a sense of racial superiority and they consider us to be racially inferior. So they don't care for us really. So those who are mainly responsible for all the sufferings in Pakistan today, we don't know whether they will ever help. But it is our responsibility as Muslims, because Pakistan is mostly a Muslim country. The Hindus and the Christians of Pakistan would not contest that view, that this is a Muslim country. The Muslim community around the world has a duty to respond, to help the people of Pakistan at this time, and this is the purpose of this video. And I want to begin with two verses of the Quran which are connected with the events which are recently taking place, even as I speak, in Pakistan. The first verse is in Surah Tur, the verse of the Quran named Mountain. And in that verse Allah takes an oath. And he says, Wal Bahril Masjur. He takes an oath by the sea when it is masjur. What is tasjir? Tasjir is building a fire in an oven. The way a fire behaves, that's how the sea will behave. Wal Bahril Masjur. This is not an ayah muhkama. The sea is not going to be transformed literally into a fire. This is an ayah mutashabiha, meaning it has to be interpreted. And the interpretation that I would offer, and I believe everybody would accept this interpretation, is that the seas are going to behave in a way that looks like a big fire. And that's what's happening now with global warming. This verse is in Surah Tur, but then there's a second verse in Surah Takwir, when Allah takes another oath, وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ سُجِّرَتْ. And when the seas become like a fire blazing. This is Surah Takwir. What is causing this reference to a fire and water? The sea is water, and Takwir is the fire. So what is the connection between the fire and water? What is the connection between heat and water? And answer, it is global warming. The global warming which is taking place in consequence of a people who believe they can do a better job than the Lord God himself. We don't need horses and donkeys anymore. That's for foolish people. We have a better way of transport. We can do a better job than the Lord God who gave us camels and who gave us oxen and who gave us all these modes of transport. And this mode of transport could continue indefinitely and it will never damage the earth. But they came with their mechanized transport and using oil And look at the story now. Look at the story now. It's not just transport, it's industry as well. Factories as well. Everything they're doing now, using oil. And as a consequence of this burning of fossil fuels, there is global warming taking place. You see, they tried to do a better job than the Lord God, and now they're looking so foolish. They're looking so foolish because the rest of the world is suffering, and their suffering is coming soon. And so Pakistan is suffering because modern Western civilization has been so pathetically stupid. That's why we are suffering, because modern Western civilization is attempting to do a better job than the Lord God himself, but they can't see further than their nose is. And so it is a pathetic results of the decision taken by the modern West to modernize transport, to modernize industry, and look at the price. Look at the price. So the glaciers in Pakistan are melting, and this is causing the floods, and the floods are increasing, and people living along the river banks and the agricultural area around the river, that's where people always live. Allah gave you the rivers for that. From the rivers you are able to irrigate land. So if they're living in these areas, that's precisely the areas which are now in danger. And from the verses of the Quran, our first message, we don't have to tell this message to Pakistan. They realize it already, that this is only the tip of the iceberg. The worst is yet to come. Because every year that passes by, the melting will increase. The glaciers will be melting. And so you have to prepare yourself not just for what happened in 2010 and what is happening now, but for worse than this which is to come. And how do you respond to it? And our first response for the people of Pakistan, immediate response, that's why I'm making this video, recording this video, is that Pakistan is our people. It's not that I am not a Pakistani, so that's not my business. I'm a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. Sunday Pakistan, so that's not my business. Not at all. My primary loyalty is not to Trinidad and Tobago. My primary loyalty is to the Lord God, to Allah Ta'ala, and to those who belong to the Ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Modern political science, of course, turned their nose at this. That we are an Ummah, they call that Pan-Islam. We call it the Ummah. And you can do what you want, you can do what you want, you cannot break the Ummah. So I have a loyalty to all Muslims around the world. That's right. And so I'm making an appeal here from the Caribbean island of Trinidad in Pakistan. They know it as Brian Lara's country. So I'm making an appeal from Trinidad. If you are Pakistani, the first duty, wherever you are in the world, if you're outside of Pakistan, particularly if you're in the United States, is to help your people in Pakistan. And the second people we address is all Muslims, wherever you are. You don't have to be Pakistani. To put your hand in your pocket and reach out to try to help everybody. Try to help those who are in Pakistan. There are those who can send supplies like tents and mattresses and pillows, pillowcases and so on. There are those who can send furniture, they can send building material and so on. But most people can be able to send only money. Send money to Pakistan and hope and pray that the money is not misused, okay, because we have rotten people all over the world. But at a time like this, the Pakistan government must ensure that funds received from outside are spent for the purpose they were sent. And the next appeal is not to people outside of Pakistan, but to the rich people in Pakistan. And I met some of them in Pakistan. They're very wealthy people in Pakistan. So I urge you to use of your wealth today. I'm sure they're already doing that. But this is another appeal from your brother to reach out to those who are in desperate need of help. And it's not over as yet in Pakistan. The worst can be, there can be even worse results coming after this talk is given. So this is our first response. An appeal for every one of us who listen to this video to put your hand in your pocket and give whatever you can to help our suffering brothers and sisters and our children in Pakistan who are refugees from rivers, from floods and so on. But now that we know that what is to come in the future can be worse than what is now happening, how do we respond? The answer is, and my suggestion should be examined for what it's worth, is that people should refrain from building big houses in areas which are now prone to flooding or threatened to be flooded. So if the floods come and they wash away your house, it can be easily rebuilt. Don't put down a lot of money in building a very strong building that could stand up to the water. You're not stronger than the water. And the floods which are going to be coming are going to be stronger and stronger, more furious. The fire will be becoming bigger and bigger. So it makes sense to build simple houses which, when they are washed away, you can rebuild it. The next thing to do is that there must be a system of warning. The government of Pakistan, every monsoon season, has to institute a system of warning so that people will move out of the areas which are likely to be flooded for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or whatever it may be. And there will be no loss of life. Take your animals out, no loss of property. You would lose your crops, of course, but you can't avoid that. You can't move your crops. And when the floods subside, you can go back and try to rebuild a simple house and take your animals with you. That's the second advice I'd like to give. The third is that you can stock up in advance of the kind of building material that is needed to be able to build replace simple homes. If you stock that up in advance, then people who wish to donate can donate that kind of material, and you have an abundance of that material. So once the flood subsides, it's very easy to start rebuilding homes, because that's the first priority. The first priority after the floods have gone is a shelter, a place where you can live. This is what I am doing on this occasion, using these two verses of the Quran to warn that Allah has already taken an oath by this subject. وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ سُجِّرَتْ, that the seas are going to become flooded, angry, and therefore dangerous, and we must prepare for that day. In Pakistan, you have the greatest danger of all because of your glaciers, and so you have to do the greatest planning of all. Don't depend on those who are racist and who will spread out the red carpet for Ukraine and be very envious of giving you even breadcrumbs. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.